And the next sutta, 5.17.167. The Venerable Sariputta said to the monks, Reverend sirs, when he that teaches wishes to teach another, let him make 5 things stand up within him, then let him teach another. What 5? I will speak timely, not untimely. I will speak about what has happened, not what has not. I will speak with gentleness, not harshness. I will speak about what is beneficial, not about what is not beneficial. I will speak with mind of goodwill, not with ill will. Reverend sirs, when he that teaches wishes to teach another, let him make these 5 things stand up in himself, then let him teach another. I'll just stop here for a while, just to comment. These 5 things are the 5 characteristics of good speech. First one, you speak timely, not untimely. Second one, you speak the truth, not what is false. Third one, speak with gentleness. Speak gently, not harshly, not loudly. Fourth one, speak on what is beneficial to that person. Fifth one, speak with a mind of goodwill, with a lot of goodwill. Then, to continue the sutta, the Venerable Sariputta said, Maybe, sirs, I see some monk being taught untimely, moved, not timely, taught about what has not happened, moved not about what has happened, taught in a harsh way, moved not with gentleness, taught about what is not beneficial, not about the beneficial, taught with ill will, moved not by goodwill. In him not taught according to Dhamma, on 5 scores, no remorse ought to be set up. Let him think, this venerable sir has taught untimely, not timely, there's no need for remorse in me. He has taught about what has not happened, not what has taught harshly, not with gentleness, has taught on what is not beneficial, not on what is beneficial. He has taught with ill will, not with good will. There's no need for remorse in me. Reverend sirs, in him that taught according to Dhamma, in him not taught according to Dhamma, on these 5 scores no remorse ought to be set up. Reverend sirs, in him that taught not according to Dhamma, on 5 scores ought remorse to be set up. Let him think, untimely is the good man taught by me, there's need for remorse in me. He is taught by me about what has not happened, not what has, is harshly taught by me, not gently, is taught by me on what is not beneficial, not what is beneficial, is taught by me with ill will, not with good will. There is need for remorse in me. Reverend sirs, in him that taught not according to Dhamma, on these 5 scores ought remorse to be set up. Why? So that no monk should think one ought to be taught about what has not happened, not beneficial, etc. There ought to be support, sirs, in 2 things for a person taught, namely in truth and in the immovable. If others teach me, whether timely or not, about what has happened or not, gently or harshly, about the beneficial or not, with goodwill or with ill will, I should find support in 2 things, in truth and in the immovable. And so the Venerable Sariputta said, I should find support in 2 things, in truth and in the immovable. If I know it is in me, this Dhamma, thinking it is, I should declare it, saying, wholly found in me is this Dhamma. But if I know it is not in me, this Dhamma, thinking it is not, I should declare that, saying, wholly not found in me is this Dhamma. Let's stop here for a while. Just now, Venerable Sariputta said, now we should find support in 2 things, in truth and in the immovable. Immovable, I suppose, is like a state of equanimity. Equanimity, in truth meaning we should be honest. And the other one, whether we are taught rightly or we are taught wrongly, we should be equanimous. And then the exalted one said, and while you are thus speaking, Sariputta, I suppose some foolish men have not the talent to grasp the matter. And Venerable Sariputta replied, Lord, those persons, unbelievers, who as a means of living not of faith, go forth from the home to the homeless life. Impostors, frauds, deceivers, who are vainly puffed up, shifty gossipers of idle talk, unguarded as to their sense doors, eating without moderation, unwakeful, who seek not true recluseship, are without diligence in training, luxurious, lax, taking the lead in backsliding, who cast aside the burden of the secluded life, lazy, low in energy, not mindful, not self-possessed, with uncomposed and wandering minds, dull lack wits. They, while I speak in this way, have not the talent to grasp the matter. But those clansmen, Lord, who of faith go forth from the home to the homeless life, no impostors, frauds, deceivers, not vainly puffed up, not shifty gossipers of idle talk, who are guarded as to their sense doors, moderate in eating, wakeful, who seek true recluseship, are diligent in training, neither luxurious nor lax, who do not take the lead in backsliding, eager for seclusion, with energy bestir themselves, are resolved, mindful, self-possessed, composed, one-pointed, wise, no lack wits. They, while I speak in this way, have the talent to grasp the matter. And the Buddha said, let be those unbelieving, etc., etc., foolish lack wits, Sariputta. Speak you to those who of faith go forth. Admonish thy companions in the holy life, Sariputta. Instruct them, and think then, when I have stirred them up from what is not Saddhamma, true Dhamma, I will make them stand fast in Saddhamma, true Dhamma. Verily, Sariputta, train thyself in this way. So this last part, Venerable Sariputta is talking about the fraud monks and true monks. It's a long description of the fraud monks, those who go forth not out of a sincere wish to cultivate the holy path. And here he calls them impostors, frauds, deceivers, gossipers, unguarded as to their sense doors, eating without moderation, unwakeful, not diligent in training, lax, luxurious, who cast aside the burden of the secluded life, lazy, not mindful, uncomposed with wandering minds. It's a long description. So from here you can see whether that's a way to judge a true monk from a false monk. The next sutta is 5.17.169. Now the Venerable Ananda went up to the Venerable Sariputta and greeted him, and after exchanging the words of customary greetings, sat down at one side. So seated, the Venerable Ananda said to the Venerable Sariputta, how far, Reverend Sariputta, does a monk come speedily to know aptness in things, so that his grasp is a good grasp, so that he grasps much and forgets not what he has grasped? And Venerable Sariputta said, I know the Venerable Ananda has heard much. Let the Venerable Ananda throw light upon the matter. And Venerable Ananda said, well then, Reverend Sariputta, hearken and give heed, and I will speak. Very well, Reverend Sir, replied the Venerable Sariputta. And the Venerable Ananda said, take the case, Reverend Sariputta, of a monk who is apt at meanings, apt at Dhamma, apt at letters, apt at language, apt at orderly sequence. Thus far, Reverend Sariputta, a monk comes speedily to know aptness in things, and his grasp is a good grasp. He grasps much and forgets not what he has grasped. It is marvelous, Reverend Sir, it is wonderful how well this has been put by the Venerable Ananda. Behold, the Venerable Ananda is possessed of these 5 things. The Venerable Ananda is apt at meanings, apt at Dhamma, apt at letters, apt at language, and apt at orderly sequence. That's the end of the sutta. This is one of the suttas you find when 2 monks or more monks come together. They like to discuss Dhamma. Dhamma is very important, and Dhamma Sakaccha, discussion of Dhamma, is one of the important things. 2 things are important. One is listening to Dhamma, the other one discussing Dhamma. So here you find Actually, at that time, the Venerable Ananda was only a Sotapanna, first stage of Aryahood, and the Venerable Sariputta was already an Arahant. But here you find the case where the Venerable Ananda is teaching Venerable Sariputta in a way. In one of the suttas, the Buddha said that it is hard to find a person with wisdom like Ananda. So you see, in this one of the few suttas, you find Sotapanna teaching some Dhamma to an Arahant. And here they call each other Avuso, Reverend Sir. During the time of the Buddha, the monks called each other Avuso, Reverend Sir or friend. But when the Buddha was about to pass away, he foresaw that in the future, younger monks would have no respect for elder monks. So he said in the Mahaparinibbana Sutta that after his passing away, junior monks should address senior monks as Bhante, and senior monks can address junior monks either by their name or Avuso, which is Reverend. Sutta 5.18.175. The Buddha said, monks, pursuing 5 things, a layman is the outcast of laymen, the dirt of laymen, the offscouring or rubbish of laymen. What 5? He is without faith, without morals, is a fortune teller by curious ceremonies. He believes in luck, not deeds. He seeks outside the Sangha for a gift-worthy person, and there first offers service. Monks, pursuing these 5 things, a layman is the outcast of laymen, the dirt, the offscouring of laymen. Monks, pursuing 5 things, a layman is a jewel of laymen, the lily of laymen, the lotus of laymen. What 5? He is with faith. He has morals. He is not a fortune teller by curious ceremonies. He believes in deeds, not in luck. He seeks the Sangha first to offer service. Pursuing these 5 things, a layman is the jewel of laymen, the lily of laymen, the lotus of laymen. That's the end of the sutta. This sutta, although it mentions laymen, is also applicable to lay women. Perhaps the translation should have been a lay person. So, a person, a good lay person is one with faith in the triple gems. Secondly, he has precepts, he has sila, he has precepts. Third one, he is not a fortune teller, nor does he go to a fortune teller to see his fortune. And the fourth, he believes in deeds, in karma, not in luck. And the fifth one, he offers service to the Sangha of monks, not to external ascetics. And the next sutta, 5.18.176. Then the householder Anathapindika, with about 500 lay disciples around him, came to the Exalted One, saluted or paid homage, and sat down at one side. And the Exalted One spoke to him, so seated, and said, Verily, householder, you have served the Sangha of monks with gifts of the requisites, the robe, alms, lodging, and medicine for sickness. But you must not be satisfied just by the thought, we have served the Sangha with gifts of the requisites. Why, householder? Or therefore, householder, train yourself thus. Come now, let us from time to time enter and abide in the delight, piti, that comes of seclusion. Verily, train yourself thus, householder. And when he had thus spoken, the Venerable Sariputta said to the Exalted One, It is marvelous, Lord, it is wonderful how well the Exalted One has spoken. Lord, when the Aryan disciple enters and abides in the delight that comes of seclusion, for him 5 things become not. For him at that time the pain and grief that follow lust become not. The pleasure and gratification that follow lust become not. The pain and grief that follow evil become not. The pleasure and gratification that follow evil become not. For him, at that time, the pain and grief that follow doing good become not. Lord, when the Aryan disciple enters and abides in the delight, piti, that comes of seclusion, for him these 5 things become not. Sadhu, sadhu, Sariputta, it is even as you say. When Sariputta, the Aryan disciple, enters and abides in the delight that comes of seclusion, for him at that time these 5 things become not. That's the end of the sutta. Here the Buddha is giving very good advice to the Anathapindika. Anathapindika is his greatest layman supporter who built the large Jetavana monastery at Savatthi for the Buddha. When you go to India, you can find that monastery, the ruins are still there. It's supposed to be about 25 acres. And this Anathapindika was a very rich man, but it seems he spent all his fortune supporting the monks. He's reported to give food to 2,000 monks every day. And here the Buddha is telling him this is not enough to do dana. You should from time to time meditate and then attain that piti, the delight of seclusion. And the reason for this is because there are 2 kinds of merit. Doing charity or offerings is worldly merit. And although it supports the spiritual life by itself, it doesn't get us out of suffering, doesn't get us out of the wheel of existence, wheel of rebirth. And to get out of the wheel of rebirth, we need spiritual merit. And spiritual merit is, of course, all the things in the Aryan Eightfold Path, but the most important would be meditation. In meditation, we train our mind, we develop our mind to see things more clearly, and that helps us not only this life, also it helps us in the next life. If we develop our mind, then we go to a place where the mind of those beings are more developed. That's why there is an episode in the Mahayana tradition about the Indian monk Bodhidharma, one of the earliest monks who went to China. He was supposed to have been invited by the emperor to the palace, and the emperor told the Venerable Bodhidharma that he had done a lot of charity. He had built a lot of monasteries and nunneries and did a lot of charity. And he said to the Venerable Bodhidharma that he should have obtained a lot of merit. And the Venerable Bodhidharma said, "You have obtained no merit, sir," something like that. And the king was very annoyed and refused to speak to Venerable Bodhidharma after that. So Bodhidharma left the palace. And later he learned from his advisor that the Bodhidharma was a very holy person and whatever Bodhidharma said must be true. And then he tried to get the advisor to call Bodhidharma to come back to the palace, but the advisor said once he decided to go, nobody can call him back. So what the Bodhidharma meant, he was because the king asked whether he had this kongta. Kongta refers more to spiritual merit, and Bodhidharma said by doing all that charity he had zero kongta, zero spiritual merit. What he meant was that the emperor had a lot of futa. Futa is worldly merit, not spiritual merit. Now the next sutta is 5.18.177. The Buddha said, "Monks, these 5 traits ought not to be plied by a lay disciple." What 5? Trade in weapons, trade in human beings, trade in flesh, trade in liquor, and trade in poison. Verily, monks, these 5 traits ought not to be plied by a lay disciple. Now, this sutta is about wrong livelihood. There are 5 kinds of trading or business that a lay person should not engage in. First one is in weapons like guns and all that kill. The second is trading in human beings. Nowadays it's more rare. This refers to slavery, selling people off into slavery. The third one, trade in flesh, refers to breeding animals for sale, to be slaughtered, like breeding chickens and breeding ducks, etc. The fourth one, trade in liquor, because it's not liquor is something that's not good for people. And the fifth one, trade in poison, refers to trade in like insecticides and all kinds of poison that are used to kill animals and other creatures. So these 5 trades should not be carried out by laypersons. The next sutta, 5.18.179. Now the householder Anathapindika, surrounded by about 500 lay disciples, visited the Exalted One, and after saluting sat down at one side. Then the Exalted One addressed the Venerable Sariputta and said, Sariputta, any white-frocked layperson you know who acts controlled in the 5 steps of the training and obtains at will, easily and without difficulty, the 4 very purposive or mental abodes of ease, here amid things seen, may, should he desire, declare just the state of self by the self, saying, destroyed is hell for me, destroyed is animal rebirth, destroyed is the realm of ghosts, destroyed for me is the wayward way, the ill way, the abyss. I am he who has won to the stream, not subject to any falling away, sure and bound for enlightenment. He acts controlled in what 5 steps of training? Herein, Sariputta, the Aryan disciple abstains from taking life, from taking what is not given, from fleshly lusts, from lying, and from drinking liquor that cause indolence. He acts controlled in these 5 steps of the training. What are the 4 abodes of ease, very purposive, he obtains at will, here amid things seen? Herein, Sariputta, the Aryan disciple has unwavering faith in the Buddha. Of a truth, he is the Exalted One, Arahant, Sammasambuddha, replete with practice and knowledge, well gone one, world knower, unsurpassed tamer of tameable men, teacher of devas and men, Buddha, Bhagava. This is the first very purposive abode of ease, one, here amid things seen, by purifying impure thought, by cleansing unclean thought. Again, Sariputta, the Aryan disciple has unwavering faith in Dhamma. Well declared by the Exalted One is Dhamma, one to be seen here and now, timeless, bidding one come and see, to be understood by wise men, each for himself. This is the second abode of ease. He has unwavering faith in the Sangha. Well trained is the Exalted One's Sangha of disciples. Trained in uprightness is the Exalted One's Sangha of disciples. Trained in method is the Exalted One's Sangha of disciples. Trained in the right way is the Exalted One's Sangha of disciples. The 4 pairs of men, the 8 persons, this is the Exalted One's Sangha of disciples. Worthy of offerings, worthy of hospitality, worthy of gifts, fit to be reverently saluted, a field of merit, none greater in the world. This is the 3rd abode of ease. Moreover, Sariputta, the Aryan disciple is possessed of virtues, beloved by Aryans, whole, unbroken, untarnished, without blemish, bringing freedom, praised by wise men, incorrupt, conducive to concentration. This is the 4th very purposive abode of ease, one here amid things seen, by purifying impure thought, by cleansing unclean thought. These are the 4 abodes of ease. Sariputta, any white-frocked layperson you know who acts controlled in these 5 steps of the training and obtains at will, easily and without difficulty, these 4 very purposive abodes of ease, here amid things seen, may, should he desire, declare just the state of self by the self and say, destroyed is hell for me, destroyed is animal rebirth, destroyed is the realm of ghosts, destroyed for me is the wayward way, the ill way, the abyss. I am he who has won to the stream, not subject to any falling away, sure and bound for enlightenment. That's the end of the sutta. Here the Buddha is saying, if a lay person knows that the 5 precepts he keeps purely, the 5 precepts, and then he has confidence that he has unwavering faith in the Buddha, the Dhamma and the Sangha, and also his precepts are pure, then he can confidently say that he has attained the Sotapanna, the first stage of Aryahood, and he will never be reborn into the 3 woeful planes again, the realm of animals, ghosts, and the hell realm, and he is bound for enlightenment. That means at the most 7 more lifetimes as a human being before he attains Arahanthood. So, you see, the 5 precepts, it's not difficult to see whether we keep it purely or not. But to have unwavering faith in the Buddha, Dhamma and Sangha, how do you have unwavering faith in the Buddha, Dhamma and Sangha? To have unwavering faith means have right view. That means you have the basic understanding. And how do you get right view? It is mentioned in the Majjhima Nikaya, I think it's perhaps Sutta 43, where it is mentioned that there are 2 conditions for obtaining right view. Only 2 conditions. One is listening to Dhamma, that means listening to the discourses of the Buddha. The second one is to have proper attention, yoniso manasikara, or thorough consideration when you are listening to the discourses of the Buddha. Only with these 2 conditions you can obtain right view. That means you already become a Sotapanna that way. That is why listening to the Dhamma, the suttas, is the first step that brings us into the Aryan Eightfold Path. If you don't have that right view, you have not come into the Aryan Eightfold Path yet, because it's mentioned in the Majjhima Nikaya, I think Sutta 117, that the Aryan Eightfold Path starts with the first factor, which is right view. And after you have right view, that will lead you to have right thoughts, and right thoughts will lead you to have right speech, that will lead you to have right action, that will lead you to have right livelihood, and then right effort, then right mindfulness and right concentration. And that completes all the 8 factors. So the first one, to obtain right view, it is very important that we study the suttas in detail, pay a lot of attention to the suttas, then that is the way to get right view. Otherwise you find some people, we had a case some time ago of somebody who meditated for 20 over years, it seems, and then changed her religion. That shows that she did not even obtain the first factor of the Aryan Eightfold Path. Now, the other thing mentioned here is about perfect virtue. Perfect virtue does not mean that an Arya does not have any minor transgressions of the precepts. It is mentioned in Anguttara Nikaya 3.85 that even Aryans can have minor transgressions of the precepts. And we find in one sutta in the Samyutta Nikaya, it is mentioned that a Sakyan by the name of Sarakani, he passed away. And after he passed away, they came to ask the Buddha where he had taken rebirth, and the Buddha said to the effect that not to worry about him, he's already a Sotapanna. And some people were a bit doubtful, and some of them were quite annoyed because they said that Sarakani failed in the training and took to drink. Failed in the training means he disrobed as a monk. Took to drink means probably that he didn't take a very little drink, he probably took quite a lot of drink. That's why the people were annoyed. So even a Sotapanna can break the precept against drinking. So you can see perfect virtue is not doesn't mean doesn't include minor transgressions, because the precept against liquor was not originally in the precepts. The original precepts did not include drinking. It was added later by the Buddha. And perfect sila in the Aryan Eightfold Path consists of the three factors of perfect right speech, right action, and right livelihood. These three. If you have these three factors of the Aryan Eightfold Path, that is perfect sila. So from there you find actually the first stage Sotapanna is not that difficult to achieve. The main thing is we keep the precepts very purely, and we listen to the suttas with proper attention. That can bring us the first stage of Aryahut Sotapanna. And this can be confirmed in some other suttas. I'll deal with it later.